welcome to Big Muddy Mayhem. This is the podcast where we talk about true crime and bad behavior in the Midwest.
Each week we'll bring 2 stories from the heartland that might break your heart, but we hope to entertain you along the way.
I'm Tracey Lee.
And I'm Janet O'Brien. Hello!
Hello, Janet! Hi, how are you?
Good. It's been so long since I've seen you.
I know.
Forever.
I know. We had dinner last night and we've been sitting here snacking on spring rolls and testing new microphones.
Yes.
Listeners, please do let us know in the comments.
Right.
Or, how do you like it? Is it better? Is it better? Is it worse? Do you like it? Is it good? Is it bad?
Well, we'll get there.
Affirm us.
Affirm
We
us.
need love.
Exactly. So
the week has been...
It's been fine. It's been good.
It's been hot.
It's been really hot today.
So hot.
Today, St. Louis hit 100 degrees, and we're not even in July.
I know.
It's so insanely hot.
It is pretty gross.
But it's cooling down now because a storm is trying to run through.
I hope so.
Yeah. No. When I was driving here, I actually drove with my windows down until it started raining. So it's definitely cooled down. So.
Also, we have the kittens sequestered in another room, but they are screaming through the walls. So if you hear a little meowing,
that's why.
I'm sorry.
We're
doing the best we can. Blue is being so good. She just lays here. She's the third member of our show now.
Exactly.
She just kind of chills out. But yeah. So anyway, here we are on this hot, muggy evening.
Yes.
And I have a story for you.
Oh boy. Oh right. Okay. We were gonna play a game.
Okay. Yes, you have a game. Right. All right.
Okay, so last night when we went to dinner, we were discussing...
I don't know this game, but we're doing this.
I was like, okay, we're talking with her friends. All of her friends listen to our podcast, and they're like... And Tracy brought up, she's like, hey, one day we're going to show up with the same story.
Absolutely.
And I had mentioned, I go, well, the story I'm doing today, people will know. And Tracy's like, the story I'm doing today, people will know. So... The game is, can you guess what state? Oh, okay. No, not the game of what state, because you already told me there's a state. I want to guess your story.
Okay.
I know yours is in Missouri.
It is in Missouri.
Okay, and you said it's...
And you said yours is most, there's something new that's recent.
Recent, very recent. I didn't even know about it, but it is an old story. I don't know your
state.
My state is Illinois.
Okay.
So, can I guess your story before you start?
Go ahead.
Is it about Pam Hupp?
No.
Damn!
No, it's not.
It's gonna happen at some point.
One of these days, we're going to end up with the same story. And so, actually, Big Muddy Buddies, what we are going to tell you is that Janet and I have talked about this, and on the inevitable moment where we show up and she says, I'm doing this, and I'm like, oh, crap, that was my story, too. At that point in time, we both continue to tell our stories, but we're going to switch notebooks. So I'll have to read from your notes, and you'll have to read from mine.
Yes. It'll be awesome.
But today is not that day.
Okay. I'll let you guess mine after we're done with yours.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. So today, my story, Janet, have you ever heard the story of Lee Shelton?
No, I have not.
Yes, you have.
I have? Okay.
Yes, you have. But you know him by his nickname.
Uh-oh. What's his nickname?
Stagger Lee.
Oh, nice.
So I am here to tell you the story of Stagger Lee, Stacko Lee, Stax Lee, Stag. His name was Lee Shelton.
Okay.
And this story takes place right here in our hometown of St. Louis, Missouri.
Woohoo!
So there is so much that's just apocryphal about this story. So I'm going to just kind of go with presiding wisdom, which in some cases might be folklore.
That's okay.
And you can hear the rain drip dropping on our window air conditioning unit here in the room. Over 400 songs have been written about Stagger Lee.
Yes.
So the story goes a whole lot of ways.
Okay.
Sometimes he's a hero, sometimes he's a villain, sometimes he's an anti-hero. Kind of like Omar Little or Al Swearingen or,
Right.
like one of those folks. Lee Shelton was born in 1865 in Texas. And he is born in Texas, but he moves as a young child to St. Louis, which is now the 4th largest city at the time.
Oh my gosh.
In the entire United States. So Lee, as he gets a little bit older and starts work, and he's employed as a carriage driver. And then later he's also working as a pimp.
Okay.
He's also a part of something called the 400 Club, which is a social club of prominent black men who are Democrats. Now remember, the parties are kind of
Democrats
flipped
were
at that time.
Democrats were conservative back then.
So St. Louis is booming because of all of the steamboat travel.
Yes.
And so he's a member of the 400 Club, and he is kind of like one of the most prominent, like I said, one of the most prominent Democrats at the time. And they are a little more wait and see, whereas the Republicans of the day are more forceful about emancipation and also defeating Jim Crow. So Stagger Lee is a Democrat. He's less progressive. He's also very successful. In addition to his membership in the 400 Club, he also has several accounts of kind of pistol whipping or acting violently against people. He's also part of a gang known as the Macs.
Okay.
And they are like a bunch of like people that are working kind of in the sex work industry. So these are like pimps.
Right.
They dress flashy. They don't try to blend in. Like normally people in that line of work
they
would
might
try to
blend,
camouflage themselves. But this might even be where we get Mac Daddy from.
Oh, okay.
So they called him Stagger for a few different reasons. Number one, he was always stag. He had all kinds of girlfriends, but never anybody serious.
Right.
Number two, he drank a lot, so he staggered a lot. And number three, there was a riverboat called the Stagger Lee.
Oh my God.
And it might have been him named for that because that boat, the Stagger Lee, was known for carrying a whole lot of sex workers, like up and down the river.
Yep.
So if you were a guy, and Ma Rainey, the blues singer, actually kind of even had a song where she referred to a faithless ex-lover as Stagger Lee, because it was like a bad man that will cheat on you and do you wrong and whatnot. So his name kind of becomes synonymous with fuckboy.
Oh, wow.
Basically. So we also have, in this story, Billy Lyons. William Billy Lyons. He's also a prominent St. Louisan. He's a Republican, which was the Progressive Party at the time. And he's part of what they call the Bridgewater Party.
Okay.
So these are established people, moneyed people, educated people that are pro-civil rights, pro-equality, anti-Jim Crow. Bridgewater, the Bridgewater Party is named for a guy whose last name is Bridgewater. And he happens to be Billy Lyons' brother-in-law. Like he's married to Bridgewater's sister.
Okay.
So we have these two prominent men with completely diametrically opposed political positions.
Right.
Let's throw in alcohol and a holiday. And let's see what happens, shall we?
Sure. All
right.
What could go wrong?
Christmas night, 1895.
Okay.
And they have a fantastic gift exchange, and they hug it out under the tree, and then they have hot cocoa, and everybody goes to bed, and we all wake up a better people.
And that's the end of the story. No.
No. Christmas night, 1895. Stagger Lee owns a club that's called the Modern Horseshoe.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And so at the club, he meets up with Billy Lyons. Stag is dressed to the nines. It's Christmas. He's a fancy man that really likes his fancy clothes.
Yeah.
He's 5'7". He's 130 pounds. He is a short king.
Yes.
But he is, like I said, dressed in a silk striped suit with a red velvet vest, and atop his head is this pristine white Stetson hat.
Oh, nice.
And in every version of, like, the song, you always hear about this. It's always about the hat. It's always about the hat. It always goes well. So they tip a few glasses, and they're hanging out, and then they start talking about politics.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads to an argument.
Oh, no.
And Stag takes Billy Lyons' hat off of his head and breaks it.
Oh, no.
Now, Billy Lyons has this cheap kind of, like, fedora.
Yes.
And he's like, hey, you're going to pay me for that hat. And Stag's like, yeah, how much did that hat cost? And Billy Lyons says that he needs 6 bits, which was 75 cents.
Okay.
I ran the numbers. It would be $28.04 today.
So not a very expensive hat.
Right. Stag's like, I could buy a box of those hats for 6 bits. So Lyons is like, hey, fuck you.
Right.
And he takes Stag's hat in retaliation.
Uh-oh.
And Stag's like, give me back my hat. Lyons refuses. Billy Lyons pulls a knife from his pocket, but you know that whole conversation about never bringing a knife to a gunfight?
Yeah.
Well, Stag pulls out a .44 and he shoots Lyons, like right there. He calls him, like, Billy pulls out a knife and, Stag also had a crossed eye.
Oh.
So Billy Lyons, he takes the hat and then he pulls a knife and he calls Stag a cockeyed son of a bee.
Oh, no.
And that's when Stag shoots Billy, like, right through the stomach.
Ugh.
He then bends down over the bleeding out body, picks up his hat, puts it on his head, and just walks out.
Oh, my God.
He goes home. He's sound in bed asleep the next morning when the police come to get him. And Billy Lyons is gut shot and then does die the next day in the hospital. So Stag is arrested. His lawyer is a guy named Nat Dryden.
Okay.
He's the most prominent defense lawyer at the time. He's also almost always drunk. And he's got a morphine problem.
Oh, you know, like you do.
So they argue, and his attorney is like, hey, this was self-defense. The guy had a knife. They have a hung jury. 7 people say that Stagger Lee is guilty of murder. 2 say it's manslaughter. And 3 more are full acquittal.
Oh, wow.
Now, so there's the hung jury, which means there's going to be a second trial.
Yep.
But in between the first and the second trial, his lawyer drinks himself to death.
What?
So he does not.
Oh my God.
So Dryden is done. Dryden, ironically, couldn't dry out.
No.
And so he's gone. So now he has to have a second lawyer. And this is a guy who is also famous. His name is Charles Johnson. And he's a former lieutenant governor.
Oh my God.
So the defense again says, Billy pulled a knife. Eyewitness testimony backs this up. During the trial, the lawyers get into a full-on brawl in the courtroom.
Oh my God.
Like, closed fist, full-on punching, WWF kind of nonsense. Full-on fist fight. And one of the lawyers says, I love this quote, There was nothing personal in my remark, but if you're looking for a personal encounter, I shall give it to you. Like, there's some rowdy Roddy Piper nonsense going on in this courtroom. But Lee Shelton is found guilty, and he's given 25 years hard time. I don't know what that necessarily means.
I don't know.
But several appeals later, he served 13 years. And during this time, several witnesses, several of the judges have all appealed to the governor saying, like, hey, he really shouldn't be in jail anymore. So in 1909,
wow,
he is released. But 2 years later, he's put back in prison because he broke into somebody's house and pistol whipped them and then robbed them.
You know, like you do.
My goodness. Some people never learn.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So he goes back to jail, and then in 1912, he's due to be released again on compassionate care because he's dying of tuberculosis.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But he passes before he can be transferred to his friend's house. He has a friend named James Anderson who is going to be his medical provider for his end days, but he passes before he can ever get to Anderson's home. That being said, said friend James Anderson is the person that gets his entire estate. But a year after Lee dies, Anderson gets busted because he is running what is probably the hugest drug smuggling and opium den ring in the Midwest.
Like you do.
Like you do. So, Lee Shelton is buried in Greenwood Cemetery in Hillsdale, Missouri. But he didn't get a headstone until 2013.
Oh my God.
He was,
yeah.
His entire estate went to the dude with the opium den. And he didn't have kids or a wife or anything like that. So, there's a group that I just found out about called the Killer Blues Headstone Project.
Oh, okay.
And they go around and find folk and blues musicians that didn't have family, which is so often the case, right?
Yeah.
And they make sure that they get headstones, that their grave markers are
that's neat.
Noted.
That's really cool.
And so in 2013, Stagger Lee finally got
a headstone.
Like I said, over 400 recordings have been made about Stagger Lee, Ma Rainey, Mississippi John Hurt, Nick Cave,
wow.
Lloyd Price, which is the one from the movie Shag,
okay.
The bluesy Stagger Lee,
yes.
Shag Billy. Yeah, that's the one I like. Duke Ellington did an instrumental version, just to name a few. So, while St. Louis is where Lee Shelton came up and where the story takes place, Stagger Lee is a folk hero of sorts in other places. I listened to a podcast called Destination Freedom Black Radio.
Okay.
And they talk about a story where Stagger Lee is born in Memphis.
Oh.
And it's kind of a Paul Bunyan-esque.
Nice, yeah.
So it's all thunder the night that he's born. The cards all turn up aces, and every dice runs only sevens. And the storm is so bad that 6 planets resign from the solar system that night. The devil's fire goes out, and he almost gets pneumonia and dies.
Oh my God!
So Stagger Lee is born that night, and that baby grows a foot an hour, and he's full grown by daylight.
Wow.
He ends up, I can't get into all of it, but it's so good you should listen to it.
Okay.
But he wrestles a rattlesnake and makes a belt out of it. And he rides a cyclone like Pecos Bill. and he fights the devil and loses, and the devil turns hell over to him. It's worth a listen. And so are the songs. So take a moment right now and listen to that story, and then also just like Google the song, listen to a few different recordings, and enjoy the story of Lee Shelton, also known as Stagger Lee. My sources today were 2 books. Cecil Brown has a story called Stagger Lee Shot Billy, and there's also a book called The Baddest Man in Town by Eric McHenry. Podcasts, Our Fake History podcast, again, the Memphis story of Stagger Lee, which is so well told and so good. Everyone should listen to it. It's called Destination Freedom Black Radio. And then also I used planetslade.com.
Nice. That was great.
Thank you.
I like that story.
I know.
It's a good story.
And my story this week kind of inspired my story for next week.
Cool.
So
Yay.
It won't be about Stagger Lee, but it will be good. It's so good. You guys already make plans.
So I'm going to play a game where I'm going to switch just a wee bit. And
we're going to switch microphones and see how it goes?
Yes, because we're going to play a game until I figure out the mic situation. So, I'm going to tell you what city mine is in.
Okay, and
then you have to guess. So, I said Illinois, but my stories just keep going to Chicago because I don't know why. A lot of things happen in Chicago. It's a big-ass city. So you get to guess.
Is it Al Capone?
No, I already did that one. You get a second guess.
Fudge. Lucky Luciano.
Nope, that's okay. I am going to talk about 1982, the Tylenol Murders.
I do know you're right.
So this is going to be a 2-parter because once I started reading about it,
there's so much.
And then the second part, there's actually been an update, not solved, but update as of 2023. Right?
Go on.
But you won't hear about the update until next week. So I know, it's fine.
Okay, but let's hear about this part now.
Okay, so
we're in the 80s.
We are in 1982, and I am 11 years old. September 29th, Chicago, Illinois. Now, at this point in time, in the early 80s, I mean, if you go to Walgreens now, how many pain relievers can you find?
There's a fair number, but it depends on what.
You got like
naproxen, ibuprofen, acetaminophen, aspirin.
Not Advil. What's the other one? Aleve. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ones you can get now. But so Tylenol was a pretty popular product because people, it's like when you take aspirin, it kind of makes your stomach hurt and stuff like that. So people just tended to take Tylenol for kind of everything.
You could have that, or you could have the crunchy orange one.
Right, exactly.
That you gave to babies.
So at this point in time, in 1982, 37% of the market for pain reliever was Tylenol.
Oh, wow.
So they had like, a third of that, okay? So September 29th, 1982, Mary Ann Kellerman. She's a 12-year-old girl. She has a sore throat.
Oh.
And her parents are like, go take some Tylenol, go back to bed. So she goes and she gets up, she takes a Tylenol. She goes to lay down, but then she gets back up because she starts to feel sick. And she goes into the bathroom.
Oh, no.
The father hears something drop in the floor.
Oh.
So he goes over and he's knocking on the door and he's like, calling her name. He opens up the door and she is on the floor.
Oh.
And so they call they call an ambulance. The ambulance comes. She's probably dead before she even gets to the hospital. And
Poor thing.
she was only 12 years old, and the only thing that they could figure out at that point, they just guessed. They're like, she probably died of a stroke. How do you die of a stroke at 12? I don't know, but whatever. That's what...
Oh.
Now, and this happens at like 7 a.m. in the morning, okay? Mm-hmm. So we're starting... Everything pretty much happens on the same day. It's so crazy. So at 7 a.m. that happens. And then a couple hours later, Adam Janis, this guy who lives in Arlington Heights, which is a suburb of Chicago. He's 27 years old. Uh-huh. He is taking his daughter to school, and when he's coming home, he starts complaining that he has chest pains. So he takes the day off. And around lunchtime, he makes himself some lunch, and he decides to take, a couple of extra strength Tylenol. That's exactly what Marianne took. And then he eats his lunch, and then he ends up collapsing on the floor right in front of his wife.
Oh, no.
And he dies basically on the spot.
Oh, no.
Now, when the police, the ambulance arrives there, they just assume he died of a heart attack because, he's complaining of chest pains before he took that. So they end up taking him away. The same day, Mary Rayner, she had just gotten home. She had spent 4 days in the She just got home from being in the hospital for giving birth to her fourth child.
Oh, my.
She gets home, she's kind of dizzy, and she ends up taking extra strength Tylenol. At 3:45 p.m., she is rushed to the hospital and passes away. She basically collapsed right in front of her 8-year-old daughter.
Oh my gosh.
So now we have like 3 deaths in a row. They're not connecting any of them. They're just, it's Chicago.
Right, there isn't anything that is...
Chicago's big,
And there isn't, any kind of common physical factor other than...
Yeah, they have not connected them yet.
But how many people take Tylenol in an average day,
30,
right?
yeah, and you got 30, they got 37% of the market? So a lot of people.
Everybody.
Right. And then, that same day, Mary McFarland, 31-year-old, she worked at the Bell Phone Company. Mm-hmm. So she was basically, because back in the 70s and 80s, you never bought a phone. You would lease them. Uh-huh. And you'd go in and you'd pick out your rotary phone and you'd lease it.
The princess phone.
Exactly. So she is working at Bell Phone, and at 4 p.m. she gets this customer service. You're talking to people all day. She gets a massive headache. So she goes in the back.
Customer service isn't enough to give anyone a massive headache.
Right.
Believe you me.
So she ends up going back to her purse to grab her extra strength Tylenol. Within minutes, she collapsed on the floor in the store that she works in.
Oh, no.
She was the mother of 2 children. Now, going back to the second person we talked to about Adam Janis, who died in front of his wife.
Right.
That his whole family has, they all went to the hospital. They've all been told he's passed away. They're all standing around like, what the hell do we do? And his brother and so Adam's brother and his brother's wife decide to go back to Adam's house. And they go back over there, and, everything's just kind of messed up. It's giving them a headache. They're like, oh my God, this is awful. And so Stanley is the brother's name and Teresa is the wife. They go back over to Adam's house. They open up his medicine cabinet to grab his Tylenol.
Oh, no.
They both take the Tylenol.
Oh,
no. How old? Stanley is 25 years old. He collapses on the floor. He actually has foam coming out. His eyes are rolling back into his head. And when that happens, his wife Teresa, who's 19, picks up the phone, calls the ambulance, hangs up, and then within a couple minutes, she does the same thing.
Takes the Tylenol?
They both took it.
Oh, no.
But, she took probably half as much as he did, so he collapsed quicker. So when they show up, and, both of them are on the floor.
Oh.
And they're like, what is going on?
I'm starting to think there might be something wrong with this Tylenol.
What? No. So
Maybe they should drink more water.
Right. So Stanley dies that day. Teresa actually hangs on for a couple of days, but she passes away a couple of days later. And then, lastly, then we come to our seventh person. This is the last one. Paula Jean Prince. She's a 35-year-old flight attendant. And a few days...
These are all so young,
I know. Too. And this is like 2 days after these 6 people have passed away. Her sister cannot get a hold of her. It's 1982, so she calls in a wellness check. And the police they go into her place. They find her on the floor in her bathroom with an open bottle of extra strength Tylenol just sitting on the counter. Now, what happens is, here we go. Yes, they find that, and they're like, okay, what is going on? And so they dig through the receipts of her purse, and they find out that she had purchased her Tylenol on September 29th when the other 6 people died.
Right.
So they're like...
From the same shop.
Well, not the same shop.
Or the same day.
Yeah. It's like, what is going on? Now, all of these deaths happened in the greater Chicago area.
Oh.
They're totally baffled by these deaths. Now, the one thing that kind of, like, there was a reporter who was kind of catching on. There was kind of like talk, like, there's something weird going on here. This doesn't make any sense.
Why is it always Tylenol? No one's dying of NyQuil. No one is dying of, like, Advil or whatever.
But the paramedics, when they came for the 12-year-old, they did their due diligence, however you say that word. Due diligence.
Yeah. I got you.
They went around and they picked up anything. They were like, okay, she's 12. She shouldn't have just died, and so they're picking everything, and they end up grabbing this bottle of Tylenol.
Oh, thank
because they knew that she had taken it.
Right.
They're like, well, it probably doesn't have anything to do with it, but we'll just grab it anyway and get it tested. So they end up taking it with them to get examined by a Michael Schaefer. Michael Schaefer tests it, and he finds that some of the capsules, because they're all now, this is. There's no seal. This is just when you could pop open a lid and take. Yeah.
There's no cotton. Oh God! By the way, so real quick aside.
Yeah.
I have a weird textural thing with some things, and it's very, very few.
Mm-hmm.
But I cannot freaking stand the feel of cotton balls ever at all.
Oh no!
And so whenever we buy a bottle of vitamins or something like that, I literally have to use tweezers to pull the
I was wondering if you use tweezers. Oh no!
Oh God, because I can't. The hair on the back of my neck is standing up just thinking about it right now. No. So if there is a hell, I will have to listen to Pink Floyd and pull cotton out of vitamin bottles for eternity.
That'll be your hell.
And I'll have to eat catfish. Oh, okay, sorry. Now back to our story.
So he ends up testing it, and he finds some of the capsules, because they are capsules. Capsules where you can just open them up and close them.
Oh. Back when you could do that.
Yeah, those kind of capsules. So... And he finds that only some of the capsules have nothing in them at all. And then some of the capsules in that little bottle of Tylenol that killed the 12-year-old, 65 milligrams of potassium cyanide.
Oh dear.
It only takes 50 milligrams to kill a healthy adult.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's why these go so fast. What happens is when you have this kind of cyanide, it starts to attack your cells, and basically your cells cannot get oxygen. So even though
you can
breathe, you are not getting
oxygen's driving.
Exactly.
Mm.
And your skin will turn like a cherry red.
Oh.
and basically all of your organs will fail, and the last one to fail is your heart. So you're alive for like a minute or two while this.
Terrible.
It's a really agonizing, horrible
way
death.
to go.
Exactly.
Oh my.
So, and also, when you take the cyanide, you will have the smell of almond on your breath. So like if you open up the bottles of Tylenol, if you could smell almond in it,
you could tell.
Yeah.
I have heard that, yeah, because like there's something in almond seed or whatever that is also like the active ingredient that is kind of like in cyanide, and
it's just crazy. So this medical examiner, Michael Schaefer, he's like, okay, the girl died of cyanide poisoning. We know that. But he did not know. They did not connect the other deaths yet. By that evening, people started talking about the connection of the Tylenol. A reporter, he figured it out. And then there was a fire captain, Philip Capitelli, his mother was friends with the mother of the 12-year-old.
Oh no!
So she was like, "Okay, you have an in because you work for the police. You know, you're a fire captain. You know the medical. You know, you talk to the medical people. We got to get this looked at."
Help me.
And there was also a nurse by the name of Helen Jensen, who was the public health nurse for Cook County. But because it's 1982 and she's a nurse, no one will listen to her.
Well, Janet, I'm sorry, but that's her fault for being born without a penis. Look, if she wanted to do better, she should have just done that.
So she ends up talking also to, like, her and the...
To somebody who they would listen to?
Yes! So her and the fire captain basically get together, and they're like, "No, there's a problem." Yeah, she has to go to him.
Sweet Marie.
I know, right?
My goodness.
She's stomping around like, what is wrong with you people? It's the Tylenol.
Oh.
Never mind that I'm the public health nurse for Cook County. Yeah, just ignore me. It's cool.
Every Benson needs a stabler.
So finally, the Cook County medical chief director, Edmund Donahue, he ends up holding a press conference. Mm-hmm. He tells basically everyone to stop taking Tylenol. So he gets on WGN in Chicago, and he's like, "Stop taking Tylenol."
But what are we going to do for our hangovers, Chief?
Poison control lines start lighting up everywhere because like people are like, "Oh, you know, I took Tylenol," and they're like, "Give it 5 minutes. If you haven't passed out, if you haven't died, you're probably fine."
But did you die? No, you did not. Then that's just fine.
You're fine.
Go forth and sin no more. Yeah.
Mayor Jane Byrne, who's the mayor of Chicago, she ends up putting out... Now, again, this is 1982. There's no cell phones. You have your 3 whole TV channels.
At best, you have a pager.
Right. So she is going around and making... She had a bunch of flyers printed out. I actually saw a video where they're handing... Like, people going in and out of the grocery store, and they're handing flyers out. Uh-huh. There are cops driving around with those big blowhorns, just driving up and down the street. Throw away your Tylenol. Do not take your Tylenol.
Wow.
Totally Blues Brothers, you know?
Oh, my gosh.
So so they are trying everything, because it's all happened in Chicago. Then the mayor has a press conference, and she ends up basically asking that all the pharmacists and, you know, all the stores just remove the Tylenol off their shelves until they figure this out. And then this story just ends up, it goes worldwide so fast. And this is like way before internet. Like 90%, this was apparently such a big story that the story that was slightly bigger than this one at this time was the JFK assassination. That's how many people knew about it.
Yeah.
Like, it went all the way around the world real fast. It was a huge deal because there was so many people taking Tylenol at this time. We weren't like trying to put seals and stuff on things. So this was like basically domestic terrorism.
So this is kind of what, and that changed so much.
It did. It changed a lot of things because of the Tylenol.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, because humans, shortly after this, there started to be a bunch of copycats.
Oh.
There was 270 reports of copycats.
Oh, no.
36 were hardcore ones.
Oh, my.
At one point, some guy... He did not die, but he did have like liver and kidney failure at one point.
Oh dear.
Someone had taken some extra strength Excedrin. Remember Excedrin?
Oh.
My dad used to take Excedrin.
I liked Excedrin.
Yeah, they had mercuric chloride in it, and it almost killed him, but he survived. They tampered. Some other copycats tampered with eye drops and nose sprays with acid.
Oh, right, because there is something in eye drops that if you ingest it, like, that can kill you.
Wow.
I've read something about that. Like, I think I saw it in a murder mystery book or whatnot. Like, if you put eye drops...
Oh, yeah, no, they were putting acid in the eye drops.
Oh, okay. No, but
and
if you ingest eye drops, like, that can poison you, I think.
Okay. Well, okay.
I could be wrong. Don't quote me on this.
So, yeah, Sinex and Visine, they ended up, like, getting some acid put in them, so people would get, like, acid burns in their nose and in their eyes.
Yikes.
Food started getting tampered with shortly after this, including orange juice and milk.
Everybody's poisoning everybody up in here. You can't even have breakfast anymore.
And again, these are they're targeting items that don't have anything to stop you. Because, now you have the ring on the milk.
Right.
There used to not be a ring on the milk. At one point, ballpark hot dogs.
Oh.
And that
Dad, are you about to ruin hot dogs for
No,
me?
but this is the thing. These two boys in Detroit claimed that they found like pins or whatever, needles or whatever inside the hot dogs. They did not.
Charlie Murphy's poisoning everybody with his ballpark pranks.
Get your ballpark pranks here.
Do you remember the commercial about like so-and-so's
Yes.
ballpark? So-and-so's poisoning everybody with ballpark pranks.
But yeah, they ended up like once that got reported and they took like, how many hot dogs did they take off the shelf? Oh, right. They removed 1 million hot dogs off the shelves because of those two boys.
Wow.
So the boys are like, we made that up.
I'm just trying to picture what 1 million hot dogs would look like.
There was lots of hoaxes. Because this happened on September 29th, a lot of people actually canceled Halloween.
Oh, no.
Because they're like, they didn't know what was poisoned and what was not, because, you had the original and then you have all these copycats.
Where are all the people that are going to, like, give you LSD and are their razor blades going to go?
I don't know. They're scared.
My goodness.
I know.
They were there first.
They ended up creating a Tylenol task force. It was created with the FBI, the Illinois State Police, FDA, and it was led by the Illinois District Attorney Office. They were trying to figure out.
I have no problem picturing this at all.
They went to go investigate drugstores. They did find some more bottles on the shelves that did have poison in it, but nobody took those because the information got out quickly enough. They did figure out that all the containers came from a certain lot. Okay. So the way distribution works, it makes no sense. So like these Tylenols came from different buildings, and then they're taken somewhere, and then they're put like in a box together, and then that's considered a lot.
Okay.
And they did come from one lot, but they're like, but that wasn't from the store. It was very confusing. They're like, well, it's not coming from Tylenol itself. That's what they figured out.
So it's not from the factory. It's just something is happening in the distribution
in the
system.
supply, that they assume the supply chain. One of the things that they figured out is that they weren't tainted at the factory or the supply chain.
Okay.
They thought possibly somebody was going in, buying Tylenol from a store, and then going in and returning it.
That seems like a lot of work, though.
I know.
I mean, I guess it's possible, but...
They didn't know. Were like, what was this, like a disgruntled employee of Tylenol? Were they trying to, possibly a serial killer doing it for kicks? Was it maybe a specific, they were targeting a specific person and maybe randomly killing other people to kind of hide their tracks?
Right. Like, I'm going to go and do this at the place where I think that my shitty ex is going and shopping, and then if there are casualties, then there are casualties.
Exactly.
Right.
They figured out in that lot, even though it came out of the same lot, that there weren't actually any tainting from that. The main theory is that they bought a bunch of Tylenol and they went back into the stores and returned them.
Okay.
And then they did find there was one other lady who could have died, but she was saved. There was one more bottle found. It was purchased on September 29th. She had just bought it. She started to get a headache, and she was like, oh, I'm going to go get my Tylenol. And her sister was sitting right next to her. No. I got some ibuprofen. Take this.
Oh, nice. Wow. Wow.
Right?
Talk about a close call.
Right. So that is where I'm going to stop with the story, because, I mean, the people that they think who's done it, and then the news that actually came out like the end of last year is crazy.
So this is Janet's first Big Money two-parter, and I cannot wait to hear the rest of the story.
Isn't that great? I mean, it's not great, but yeah.
All right.
I remember when it was talked. Do you remember when it was on TV?
I do, kind of vaguely. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it seems like everybody knew about that. But basically, what happened is that Tylenol, that whole thing, that is why we have most of the stuff.
Right, that's exactly why, things changed in the way that medications were, packaged. Again, that's why I have to pick gross-ass pieces of cotton out with tweezers.
Here, you want to hear a fun fact about the cotton?
Mm-hmm.
The cotton was only supposed to be put in certain pill bottles because they didn't want the pills to get crushed. But the pills that we have today, they don't.
Need it?
They don't actually
need. They just do it because they hate us?
No, they do it because people expect the cotton to be in there.
I don't like it. I don't want to it.
Write your senator. Remove the cotton. You don't need it.
The foil is enough. If the foil is secure, then I know that everything is fine. What does the cotton even actually do?
Nothing. It does
what
nothing.
What does it do except squick me out?
It's in there for you.
It's there to make the hair on the back of my neck stand up.
Oh my God.
Yuck.
So that's my story.
And this is where we're going to take a break.
I'm
going to take Janet out back and show her my brand new hat and make her pick the cotton out of my aspirin bottle for me. and then we'll be back.
We'll be back for what's nice.
That's not nice. Hello, friends, and thanks for getting muddy with us. We are here once again to tell you a few different ways that you can support the podcast. First of all, if you want to provide us with any kind of financial support, you can go to patreon.com or also buymeacoffee.com. Both of those will help us with the making and publishing of the podcast. And also, what we would really love for you to do is to leave us a 5-star review and a rating, just a couple of nice words in the comments or in the review section. This will help us to reach a larger audience, and that will help us to keep doing what we do. We really love that you get muddy with us every week, and we appreciate your listenership. Thank you. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
All right, well, we're back for What's Nice,
Yay.
and I believe that I go first this time.
Yes.
So, because we just talked about Stagger Lee, I wanted to talk about the Levine Hat Company.
Oh, yeah.
So-
I know the Levine Hat Company.
You do? I was going to
do.
say. So, this is a hat company that was founded in 1903. Benjamin Levine. He had a dry cleaning business in Kansas City. I didn't know this part.
Okay.
This is so funny. So he had a dry cleaning business in Kansas City, and he ruined a guy's suit,
Oh, no.
and it was a really, really, really expensive suit, so much so that he had to sell his store to replace it.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
So he sells the store, replaces this guy's ruined suit, and then he moves to St. Louis. And because he had, at the dry cleaning shop, they did do cleaning of hats. 1903, he opens up a hat shop. It's still owned by the same family. They have sold over 1 million hats. You can see 3
Nice.
generations of Levines. It is the largest retail hat store in the entire world.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah. So they're on Washington Avenue in the Garment District in St. Louis, Missouri. They've sold to everyone from the Rolling Stones, members of Fleetwood Mac. They even sold hats to Colonel Sanders,
Oh, my God.
which I love. And so, like I said, they've been there since 1903. So one of the oldest haberdasheries in the country and also the largest hat store in the world. And yes, in case you're wondering, you can buy a white Stetson hat there.
Nice.
So my sources were stlouisjewishlight.com and levinehat.com for my What's Nice. But do pay a visit
Oh, yeah.
to the Levine Hat Company
I've totally purchased a hat.
down on Washington. And that is my What's Nice.
Nice. I love it. So I picked this one just because it had popped up in my feed.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know about the Bean in Chicago?
Oh, yeah, the
That's-
Millennium, what is it called? In Millennium Park. Right.
It's called Cloudgate, but people call it
The Bean.
because it looks like
It
a
does
bean.
look like a large bean.
It apparently just reopened. They had been doing some stuff to it.
How do you close a statue?
I don't know. I think they were doing some work
Oh, okay,
on
they
it.
had it closed off while they were, like, cleaning it or whatever.
Right. Cloudgate is a British artist, Anish Kapoor's first public outdoor work installed in the United States. It's a 110-ton elliptical sculpture, and it's forged of a seamless series of highly polished stainless steel plates.
Oh, nice.
Which reflects Chicago's most famous skyline and the clouds above. It's about 12 foot. The 12-foot high arch, which is what you walk under, provides a gate to the concave chamber beneath the sculpture, inviting visitors to touch its mirror.
Oh, nice.
Like surf.
It is very pretty. You do
It
kind of
is.
get to see everything, you know, like it's a unique view.
Oh yeah, very much. And inspired by liquid mercury,
Okay.
the sculpture is among the largest of its kind in the world, measuring 66 feet long and 33 feet high. Cloudgate sits upon the AT&T Plaza, which was made possible by a gift from AT&T. The Millennium Park is located in the heart of downtown Chicago, which is bordered by Michigan Avenue and Columbus Drive, Randolph Street, and Monroe Street. But yeah, they had it closed, and I guess they were doing some work on it. But now it just opened again last
Back
week.
open again? Oh, I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah.
So
I haven't ever actually gone to see, like, close up. Like,
No, I've
never
only
walked
driven past
under it, but I have been at a distance and stuff. And it is iconic. It
Yes.
is kind of one of those things where, like, oh, you know you're in Chicago
right.
when you see the bean.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
So I think this is where we end.
This is where we stop.
Yeah.
Like I said, I know you've got a two-parter.
I do.
Can't wait for the second half of your story. And mine is going to be a different story, but one that I kind of was inspired by while I was doing the one that I did this week.
Excellent.
So tune in next week, Muddy Buddies. Otherwise, you're going to miss all of this good stuff.
Exactly.
And we do have one more thing that we need to wrap up before we sign off.
Yes.
And that is that we need to remind you
To stay Midwest nice.
Stay Midwest nice.